you cannot tell me that this despicable current Labour regime would do any better. I mean, you've got Claudia Webb, one of their former MPs, literally hanging onto her seat despite being convicted in a court of law of threatening all sorts against an innocent woman. I mean, do not tell me, Darren, that we would get less sleaze from Starmer's Labour Party, because I just don't believe that.
Well, absolutely not. And I mean, they're all at it as far as their second jobs are concerned as well, right? And I think there are legitimate questions to be answered about the lack of appeals process when an MP is found to have done wrong by the Committee on Lobbying and such things like that. But that's not to say that nobody in number 10 shouldn't have said, hang on a minute. We are handing opposition MPs, like you've just mentioned, the greatest gift in sleaze-based headlines if we do this, right? Why did nobody predict in number 10 that it would go down like a bag of sick with voters?
Okay,
and
so for you, it's an issue of political management.
Well, it's actually an issue when you've got the likes of Sir Geoffrey Cox QC making £400,000 a year outside of Parliament, Dan, and barely bothering to speak in the House of Commons. We are having these conversations about those MPs because of this story having cut through. And I think MPs, basically the public are asking, Dan, what on earth they're paying their MPs for if they've got all the time to have these outside jobs, if they've got all the time to mess about outside of Parliament instead of actually focusing on their issues for their MPs.
Well, Darren, I always used to believe that MPs should have no other jobs outside of Parliament. However, in that case, don't you just risk encouraging even more professional politicians, and then you miss out on some people who have potentially been very successful in business or their particular line of work?
I think many people, though, watching this show tonight, Dan, will be thinking, because that was sort of suggested by the father of the House, who's a Tory MP, Sir Peter Bottomley. He suggested that pay rises for MPs would be the solution. And I'm sorry, Dan, but I bet most people watching your show will be absolutely gobsmacked by the brass neck, or should I say the gold-plated neck in that gilded chamber of theirs. They're earning over 81 grand, right? That places them in the top 3% of earners in this country. Voters must be thinking, we pay MPs quite enough, thank you very much.
Darren, not to mention the expenses and the free travel and the accommodation allowances and all of that which they get on top of it. And by the way, Sir Ed Davey, the Liberal Democrat leader, remember them? The Lib Dems, I think they're still around.
Who?
You know, he's been leading the charge against this so-called Tory sleaze. And then it turns out he's making a whole load of cash on the side as well. So, Darren, all I'm saying is you can't trust any of them. You cannot trust any of them.